Hello everyone, welcome back to a new YouTube cast. Today we're going to be having a look at, in the bottom right corner, spawning as the red Zerg SoO. And in the top left spawning as the blue Protoss player, it's going to be ShoWTimE, who went for a very early scout. This is a 13 pylon, and then sending it straight across the map. But SoO went for a 14 hatchery. So you see the hatchery was built before the second overlord. Now, this is done specifically to basically cancel out the play, or not cancel, to deny the play that ShoWTimE wanted to go for, which is the hatch block. So now SoO sacrifices a similar amount of economy as he would taking it here by doing a crappy build order basically. But he does get his natural up, which makes it easier to defend against adepts later on. Makes it slightly easier to defend against adepts early on as well, but really mainly against that 4-gate glaive adept push that is really common at the moment in this matchup. As we see ShoWTimE going for a little bit of drone harass here, trying to get these drones to stay away from the good mineral patches. So you got two types of mineral patches. Well, there's lots of types of mineral patches, but usually you have two types of mineral patches. You got the close patches and you got the far away patches. Now, the close patches, they give more money. Well, they don't give more money, but it's easier to mine quicker from there because the distance that the drone needs to walk is shorter. I believe you get something like 85 minerals per minute from the near patches if there's two workers, and only like 76 or something from the far away patches. So they always try to push these drones away from the rich patches, or from the nearby patches, and that's what ShoWTimE tried to do. These numbers are made up, by the way. These are not accurate, but it was just an example. It's something like a 10 or 12 mineral difference, I believe. I can't quite remember the numbers. It's not that important. So we see Stargate opener. I think if ShoWTimE would have gotten the proxy hatchery block off, that he would have opened with the glaive build. But now that the hatchery block didn't quite work, he's like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change up my plan. Just going to open up with Stargate, get that delayed warp gate, of course. So SoO should be aware of it, because SoO can count as well. As you say, wait a second, that Cybercore wasn't researching anything for 20 seconds. That, of course, there is an animation for when the warp gate starts. So that's what the Overlord is here for. Check the if warp gate research starts, and then see how many chrono boosts are being spent on that gateway. And right now SoO is seeing only a single chrono boost being spent on that gateway, which means only a single adept is going to make its way across the map. See a big link count actually being built here, which is odd, because usually you only see that with... Oh wait, there's already two adepts. I completely missed that. Never mind. So there's two chrono boosts on the first two adepts. I was like, wait a second. But then I realized I had my timings off, and I can't read. In my defense, it's still early in the afternoon. So. We have two adepts actually shading in. We'll be able to get one drone. Not able to get another good micro here by SoO. We'll end up losing a second one, but two drones for two adepts is a worthwhile trade here for SoO, who even uses one of the low HP drones to build the spore. Really cute move. I mean, it won't really matter because they will regain in time for the Oracle. Wow. ShoWTimE is going to extreme lengths to hide that he has an Oracle. Not sure why. We have a bunch of links on the map. Might be able to deny this base if they come in now and just right click that worker. I think that's exactly what SoO is planning on. ShoWTimE's a little bit too fast with that third base. And SoO will have to go do something else with his life. For now it seems like just patrolling this general area is fine. Keeping that Oracle at home with his presence is of course something that's also rather nice. Another spore going down at that third base. Now we're going to see what SoO decides to do. Are we going to see an Evo chamber? Are we going to see Roadrunner, or perhaps a faster layer? There's a lot of gas in the bank. Where is it going to be used on is the main question here. And SoO does need to show his hand relatively soon, or he's just going to be down with it. Like, he needs to do something. There comes the layer. We're not seeing a Roadrunner yet, so this... I wouldn't be surprised if this is going straight into Hydralisk. In that case, a lot of time you see an Evo Chamber. Yes, there we go as well. So Evo Chamber most likely going to be a Roadrunner skip. Now, what is this based on? What information? It's all very fast third base. I think he spotted at least two Oracles. And the likelihood of there being some kind of glaive adept push when there's two Oracles reduces slightly, at least at a very tight timing. For safety, he's even getting a Bailing Nest, so even against glaive adept he would be fine. So very cool opening here for SoO, who's just Yeah, he's not very afraid at all. He's like, alright, I know what you're doing. I've seen the amount of oracles. I know how many adepts you have. Of course, with this overlord, Zergs also see if the animation of the warp-in animation is being played. So they can see how many units is on the map. Now, you can't always do that very consistently, but a lot of Zergs have gotten very good at constantly staring at these gateways in between injects and in between their Ling move outs. So, good creep spread so far as well by SoO, who has plenty of links in defense for this 4 adept squad. Now we do have 2 oracles here. Where did the 3rd oracle go? Still at home. Oh man, ShoWTimE is so afraid. I feel like his him being so scared is not really helping him here. Like, it's definitely not helping him here. He's gonna get a couple more drones damage here with this shading, but the oracles really haven't done much. I mean, this was a good shading, gets 5 workers and ups the total workers killed count to 10, but I feel like these oracles should have been able to do way more damage. I mean, SoO doesn't even have the greatest overlord spread. Queens are not always in position. How many queens is there? There's only 5, so that's a good amount. For a Protoss player, you're happy to see only 5. You see 6, then it becomes more difficult. With 5, yeah, that's good. Here we go, ShoWTimE getting a couple of worker kills. Doing a very good job here. Getting 5 more, up to 15 right now. So good early game by ShoWTimE. Let's see how his follow-up is going to be. We see 1 Immortal out already, 2nd Immortal on the way. Couple of gates being added on that 3rd base. I'm going for a full wall, that's kind of cool. I haven't seen this a lot, but this makes a lot of sense, because on this map it can be really difficult to deal with run-bys, and the way you're going to be expanding is towards the top anyway, so shutting yourself off from this bottom side isn't that important. One little detail that I'd love to see is 1 more pylon over here, so you immediately make like a warp-in position, so you can run by into his 4th base very easily later on as well. That's the only disadvantage of this wall, if you don't have a pylon close to your gateway. There's no space for big warp-ins right now on the outside. So any kind of run-by will have to go through this main ramp with a higher likelihood of it being spotted. Now, talk about being spotted, we see SoO sending in an Overseer, trying to get some information, sees no animation yet on the Templar Archives, and he's like, alright, there's not going to be Storm. The moment you see this as a Zerg, you're going to start getting a bit afraid of a push as a Storm starts right now. The moment there's no Storm, it means there's going to be more Archons. A lot of the time we see tosses go up to 2 Archons before researching Storm, that's what we're seeing here as well. See continued Immortal production, so most likely going to be a slightly lower gate count than usual. We're only seeing 9 right now. A lot of the time you see tosses go up to 10 or 11. If you skip that Immortal count, you can get a higher gate count very quickly. Is this the first prism on the map? I believe yes, so walk straight into a Changeling, and SoO will most likely put a couple of Hydras in position to try and snipe that prism. Ooh, doesn't seem to be paying attention to the bottom side of the map. Ooh, that's a little bit of a mistake. If he didn't actually notice, because this prism getting in the main base at this timing would be pretty bad for SoO, because SoO actually wants to do something here. See, he's gearing up for a push, Muscular Augment's about to finish, working in a lot of Banes. This prism is going to be a bit of a ruiner. He ruins it for him. Spore immediately placing somewhere else, and you see the entire army of SoO being F2'd back home. No secondary run-by setup. I mean, there's 2 adepts, but there's no real threat in that. Good creep threat by SoO, who is pushing it forward very fast. Simulacrum not a great map for TOS when it comes to denying creep, as it seems to get to your base very quickly always on this map. I'm not quite sure why. Perhaps it's small, but there's no real ramps, I guess, kind of open, so easy creep spreading for the Zerg. Now we have a big potential engagement here for the Zerg. Now we need to see some force fields coming out. Not the greatest force fields. Archon's actually blocking a lot of that. Still a lot of force fields available. Once again, not the greatest force fields. ShoWTimE is messing up his defense a little bit here. SoO still has a little banelings remaining. Is stacking to Spire and Hive. So there is a transition behind this. This is such a depressing game to play if your name is ShoWTimE. I mean, his early game was so good. He killed 16 workers, he barely lost any units. And then, while your opponent is transitioning into Hive and Greater Spire most likely, you get blasted by Hydra Bane as ShoWTimE calls GG and SoO wins game number 1 over here. Now, of course, that fight for ShoWTimE wasn't that great. He messed up his force fields because one of his Archons was in the way. You always need to force field a little bit further in front of your Archon. The main mistake in that fight. No stasis wards were ready either, so it's not like ShoWTimE was blameless, but this is gonna hurt going into the second game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with game number 2 between SoO and ShoWTimE. Once again, we see SoO opening up with a 14 hatch. This time ShoWTimE decided just to go for a gate scout, so a scout at 16. So ShoWTimE's going to be very happy to see this fast hatch. He's like, oh, alright, this looks nice. I mean, there was no reason for SoO to do it. Of course, SoO doesn't know that because he needs to gamble before he knows what's happening. So SoO picking the wrong gamble here, and hey, it's not a massive deal. It's just going to be slightly behind because of it. The absolute top scenario for the Protoss player is if you do a gas first no scout and your opponent plays a 14 hatch. That's absolutely ideal because you're playing the greediest variation and your opponent is playing the least economic variation without actually having anything, any compensation for it. So imagine you play like an early pool, at least the compensation is in the early link, right? And maybe you can do some damage with that against the no scout, you know, gas first into gate or something like that. But this build has no compensation whatsoever. The only thing you get is that you always get your hatchery down on the natural. That's the only thing that is gonna happen with this build. Nothing else. It's the only guarantee you get. So we see ShoWTimE, just, you know, getting a standard build. 2 links being built here for SoO as well. Let's see what he does with his first queens. Is there going to be tumor first? Are we going to see inject first? Usually that can be a little bit indicative of exactly what's going to happen in the game. Of course, if you want a lot of creep early on, it could be something like a queen roach push as well, which we have seen in the past. From mainly European Zergs, I have to admit, but the Korean Zergs definitely know how to do that strategy, and SoO someone that is very fond usually of these early aggressions or these big roach pushes. It's funny, I always feel like SoO is a lot better in just the more standard games, but he tends to be very overly aggressive against Protoss, which sometimes loses him games. But if you saw last game, I mean, absolute beast when it comes to macro. And he had a transition ready as well and just casually killing his opponent. Shade in, trying to see if there's a lair, trying to spot some gas mining as well. Only saw a single drone in that gas. Ooh, Phoenix opener this time here by ShoWTimE. So switching up slightly what he did last game, but I feel like it's not completely necessary. It's nice, of course, to switch up your styles, but sometimes you see players switch up their game after losing a game, even though their early game wasn't really the reason why they lost the game. I mean, ShoWTimE had a fantastic early game. He killed about 15, 16 workers. Ooh. Oh, this is sexy. Twilight Council proxy. Phoenix moving around the map looking for overlords. Now the question that stays in my mind is, why would you proxy the Twilight Council if you're opening up with a Phoenix? The purpose of the Phoenix is to deny scouting. And he did that, so why not have at least a Twilight in your main base? You can still proxy a gate, but if it gets spotted later on, maybe the game goes on, at least you have the Twilight there. So that's a little bit confusing for me. Now, ShoWTimE realizing last game that SoO did skip Roach Warren, now wants to punish him with a quick Adept Glaive build. Now, SoO is getting some clues, of course, this game, that he didn't get last game. So we see a very delayed third base. We see only 2 Stargate units, so I wouldn't be surprised if SoO just throws down a Roach Warren. Yes, there we go. SoO is very smart, of course. He knows, wait a second, two Stargate units, there's no third base. Last game I saw 3 Stargate units, and there was a third base. This is something different, there's gonna be more aggression. And he starts his Roach Warren. Now, ShoWTimE is not quite ready yet to move out, but the main thing of this build is not the power at which it hits, but it's the fact that it's hidden. Now it's gonna follow with an Immortal push from this. And so actually this is a mistake. I think this is a really big mistake by ShoWTimE. He should not show that. He should have pretended like he wanted to stay at home with these 2 adepts. Because the moment the Zerg thinks he's safe by not seeing a move out, I don't think the Zerg would have built these roaches. He might have built a couple of roaches, but I don't think he would have built full 9 roaches. Now, of course, there's no third base still, but I think the use of this pylon and these 2 adepts is so much less than the use of everything coming as a complete surprise and hitting harder. So we do have ShoWTimE moving in, 4 drones going down immediately. There is roaches here. Roaches trade so well against Blaze Adepts. Their finishes a shade. 5 workers have gone down so far, don't forget. ShoWTimE has a full wall. He is not building Immortals yet. He has a lot of money in the bank, though, so he definitely should start. We have a couple more adepts moving in. 3 adepts managed to shade into the main base. What's there left here? 5, 6 drones. A couple of drones will fall in the main. So we have a lot of drones going down so far, I have to admit. 17 workers have fallen, 4 more on the way. Unit lost stat, we see that ShoWTimE's actually behind, which isn't brilliant for him. A lot of the time with glaive builds, the way you look at it is you just check, basically just check the unit loss stat. And in some situations, I mean, if the Zerg loses absolutely every single drone and is on 10 drones, it's fine to throw away all your adepts. But if the Zerg managed to rebuild up to a similar drone count very quickly and you had a worse unit loss stat, even though it says -20 here on the left corner, it isn't actually that great for Prolos. Now this is great for Prolos. This is the full base of denied mining time here. So you have the Immortal push follow up here by ShoWTimE. I was trying to shade him with 2 more adepts. I mean, that's not going to work, my friend. It's a brave thing to do, but I don't think that's going to quite work out. SoO hasn't scouted yet, isn't aware that there's no third base. Now he does know there's a full wall. I really don't like this full wall. I think this full wall is giving away so much more than ShoWTimE really needed to give away in this game, and that might play a factor in how this game will turn out in the end. I think the initial adept pressure could have done more, but of course hindsight is always 2020. There's no observer with this push yet, so creep is going to be good. Burrows being researched. Very good force fields here to start with. Only 1 double force field. I don't think the guarding shield was quite necessary there, but good set of force fields will definitely help him get a win here in this game. A couple of biles being tanked here. Head-butted by these Immortals. Confusing the bile with a soccer ball. Happens to the best. So we have a bunch of adepts being warped in. Immortals. Is there any more Immortals on the way? There's only 2 Immortals. There's a Robobay on the way, so we're gonna see a follow-up with Disruptors. So 1 adept does finish. That's a mistake. I can only assume it's a mistake, of course. Maybe ShoWTimE thought it was a brilliant plan to finish in 15 roaches, but I value ShoWTimE's intelligence a little higher than that, so probably just a mistake. We have SoO scouting across the map. He's going to be like, alright, no third base. I mean, it's very obvious to him what this is. He's just gonna... He might keep upgrading actually here. That's the one thing he might do. He's just gonna keep building roaches, add very little drones here, probably none. Might replace these 3 drones that he just lost, but yeah, the only thing I can see him doing is continue upgrade, so maybe he'll get +2. But the rest of it is just gonna be pressing down the roach button. 4 workers have gone down here. Yeah, SoO doesn't even rebuild them. He's like, you can suck it, mate. I know you don't have a third. Your main is gonna be mining out. You see these patches. Natural is getting reasonably close to being mined out as well. I see 2 patches about to disappear. 2 more drones being built now. Baneling nest. I like this a lot. A lot of the time you see Zerg players actually just staying on roaches, and then sometimes they die against disruptors. But the beauty of banelings is that banelings do really well against disruptors, because disruptors have a hard time hitting banelings, especially on creep. Similar to roaches, by the way. On creep, roaches and ravagers are not that easy to hit with disruptors. But once this creep disappears, ShoWTimE starts pushing forward. He's going to be able to get some pretty decent hits with these disruptors. Most likely there's 2 disruptors out already. Creep, like I said, is being killed here. Very important that he gets this tumor, actually. I wouldn't even mind if he gets this tumor and then the rocks, because the ability for flanking, if there's no creep up top there, is becoming less and less. Disruptor should be a bit more in the front here, and yeah, this is it. I mean, it's just going to be a very rough fight. We have 18 banelings on the way. We don't have baneling speed yet, though, so still an opportunity for ShoWTimE here to do something. At a 900 APM over there for a second. It's very rare to see pros with this high APM. So we don't have a lot of spam buttons, like rapid fire. Oh, good first disruptor. Holy crap. That's some real damage right there. Let's zoom out a bit to to see the full concave that SoO is about to set up. You see Roach coming from the back. Second Disruptor kind of whiffs. Got a single Roach. How many force fields is there? I believe there's 6-7 force fields left. Decent ones being hit for now. Disruptor's being sniped though by that flank. Very good flank here by SoO, who, wow, thanks another massive Disruptor hit. A couple of Disruptors being put in the prism right now, but not quite sure if that's going to be enough. SoO has so many units. Bailing speed isn't done. +1 melee isn't done, but I don't think it's going to matter, as 2 Disruptors do get the hit of a lifetime. Third Disruptor gets a decent hit as well. The prism falls, and with that prism, so will these Disruptors. I do believe ShoWTimE is running out of money at home. You see all the patches are disappearing. Calls GG, and SoO takes game number 2 as well. So let's head into game number 3 of this best of 5 series. Alright, game number 3 between ShoWTimE and SoO. On Everdream, once again, we're seeing SoO with that 14 hatch and ShoWTimE with a gas first. So this is absolutely the best scenario. This is the scenario I discussed at the start of the last game, where this is the worst economical opening for the Zerg player versus the best economical opening for the Protoss player. Now, to completely finish it, if he doesn't even scout after Cybercore, like, this is... I know this sounds silly, but this is a difference of 200, probably more, between 250 and 350 minerals. I'm not quite sure how much you give up by taking a 14 hatch, but it might even be more, like maybe between 300 and 400, somewhere in that range, minerals that SoO is just put behind by these decisions. Now, a core scout will make that slightly less bad, but it's still pretty darn bad for SoO. As an opener. Now, of course, openers are not the main reason why people lose usually, but it's definitely going to have an impact on how this game plays out. As we see a quick Nexus coming out here for ShoWTimE. And he's gonna go for a core scout, I can feel it. No! Sends it back home, gets some minerals, and keeps it home. This is a really cool play, I'm a big fan of this. We have 2 guys in the extractor, so not full saturation on that extractor, trying to mine a little bit faster from the natural probably. I was actually gonna get 3 in there now. I wouldn't mind if he gives up a little bit on his speed timing to get faster minerals again, to make up for that early game deficit. So SoO is gonna be pretty pissed off about this early game. I see a warp gate actually starting as well, wow. Okay, it's the first time ShoWTimE has done this. So, warp gate usually indicates a Twilight Council. Oh. Alright, this is the fake. So, like I said, the warp gate usually indicates Twilight Council. And every time so far when ShoWTimE has played Stargate, he did it with a warp gate skip. But this time he did it with a warp gate first and then went Stargate. So he's most likely going to be saving up 2 oracles over here. And try to surprise SoO with these oracles. Not only are you trying to get a lot of drone kills, but you're trying to do a lot of indirect damage. So against oracles, what Zerg wants to do is they want to get 4 or 5 queens, very late extra gases, and a Roach Warren between 430 and 440, majority of the time. Now against Glaive Adept, what Zerg wants is they want to get 2 gases a lot of the time, maybe even a fast layer, 3 to 4 queens, and a Roach Warren that starts at the 320 mark, so, well, 330 maybe. We're gonna see what SoO does exactly. Does he respect the fake here by ShoWTimE? That's the question. ShoWTimE is going to fake a full Glaive Adept build, so he's gonna get 1 more Adept after the Stalker, then he's gonna warp in 2 Adepts, he's gonna fake a move out with 4 Adepts. SoO so far, no Roach Warren yet. We're seeing extra queens being built, so going up to 4 queens already. I think SoO, so there's 2 ways to defend. You can also do which is called the Dongre-gu defense, in which case you get 4 to 5 queens and you start with a lot of links. Once again, that's not as bad for the Zerg versus double Oracle save up, but it's still pretty nasty because you usually don't get spores in mineral lines with it. You get like a spore in the front perhaps. So we're gonna see exactly what it's going to do. We see 42 workers. SoO just doesn't give a crap. Gets a Roach Warren at 405. So it's a little bit in between. We see 4 Overlords being built. I don't think these Oracles got spotted. There's no spores. So we have ShoWTimE with these 4 Adepts. Spores are being built now. Perhaps after seeing the gas being built, but that spore is going to be 3 seconds too late, I think. So he's gonna lose 4 or 5 workers here for free if ShoWTimE micros this well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 workers only. It's not the greatest. 16 links were produced. 24 links were produced though. So, I mean, you could say the trick worked. He forced a lot of links, but the problem here for ShoWTimE is that he also delayed his third base by a lot. You see, he's got a pretty cute follow-up. Oh my god, no, ShoWTimE, what is this? No oracles at home. Adepts not in a defensive position, and this is massive, because now these links all of a sudden were justified. SoO before was like, oh crap, I built 24 links. I only wanted to build 12 or maybe 14 against 4 adepts. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, I just killed 4 adepts with it. I denied the third base. He gets the scout on 4 sentries. That's such a big scout. I wouldn't be surprised if he cancels 1 gas here. I think he should cancel a gas. Actually, he's already on so many workers. Oh, he doesn't quite read into this. That's kind of odd. He sees 4 sentries and decides to throw out 7 more drones. I mean, this has to be the end of the droning, right? Because this is such an obvious all-in to me, or such an obvious move out. 4 stalkers being warped in at home as well. There's 2 more sentries there. I mean, once SoO sees this move out, we're only going to be seeing roaches, but it might be too late. Big supply block for SoO at 80, 82. 5 overlords coming down at the same time. Second big supply block he's had this game, but... here comes the move out. Stalkers being shown immediately. And that shows that it's the real deal. So you have this move out here. With these orcs, not going to be able to do very much, honestly. Workers killed so far, still only 4. Is there an observer with this? There is an observer with this. Wow. That's going to be real nice, actually. It's definitely going to be able to help out in this push, clear the creep. On this map, you have such a good area for force fielding. So I'm having a hard time seeing SoO actually defend this. I'd love to see spores from the natural come to the front here as well. You can really deny the prism or the oracles from coming in. This evo changer being real annoying for SoO as well, actually blocking his own units. This is why you never just build your buildings in random positions, SoO. So a couple of roaches could be sniping these sentries, instead decides to pull them back after he biles one of the force fields. SoO has a lot of units and force fields are running out. The longer this fight goes on, the better it becomes for SoO, obviously. There's a couple of good biles once again on the force. It's very patient play here by SoO, who's just absolutely crushing this push, it seems like. There's 1 more warping coming in. I wouldn't have minded if those were zealots for a little bit of tanking power. Immortal a little bit exposed in the front, couple of biles coming down, do get dodged, Immortal falls. With that Immortal falling, the DPS of this push is so much low. My god, biles hitting the stalkers, slightly hitting the prism as well, and only 2 workers have gone down during all of this. SoO with an absolute perfect defense on probably the hardest map to defend it on. And honestly, without really responding too quickly. So, fantastic defense by SoO, very good micro here. He's really patiently piling his own force field as he wins this game. And he wins the series 3-0. So, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to like. It helps me out a lot. Subscribe to my channel as well. And I hope to see you in another video. Bye bye.